We are 3 days away from the British Grand Prix, and unfortunately one of F1's top drivers will not be participating in that event, and NASCAR announces a new change, or I guess an addition, to their next month's Daytona road course events. Yo, what is up everyone, my name is JettMDK and welcome back to the episode of Inside the Lines. We have an unexpected show for you guys here today. I was not planning on doing an episode earlier in the morning, but then out of nowhere, 3 big stories, or at least 2 big stories, dropped out of nowhere, so now we have to talk about it. We're going to start off in Silverstone in Formula 1, as they were preparing for the British Grand Prix on Sunday. Unfortunately, one of their top drivers, Sergio Perez, will not be starting on Sunday. The reason why is because it was announced earlier today that he has tested positive for COVID-19. Now, at first, a report came out that the test results from Perez came back inconclusive, meaning you don't have it, you're not really sure of it. So they went again and did another test, and it came back positive. So as a result of that, Perez will not start in Sunday's race. He now has to self-isolate, get away from everyone, and basically live in a bubble all by himself. And it's a shame because Perez had a really good season so far up to this point. Scored points in all 3 races, sits 3rd in the driver standings. And yeah, this is going to be a very tough way for him in the points after this race. And also praying and hoping that it's just a similar situation to what happened with Jimmy Johnson, when it was basically just, he was gone for 1 race, and then I think 3 or 4 days later, he was able to race again. Hopefully it's a similar situation like that with Perez. Hope he has a speedy recovery. But in the meantime, now Racing Point, they have to figure out who is going to replace Sergio Perez for Sunday's Grand Prix. Well, first they came out with a statement regarding the announcement of Sergio Perez's positive 19 test. It said, quote, Sergio is physically well and in good spirits, but he will continue to self-isolate under the guidelines of the relevant public health authorities, with safety the ultimate priority for the team and the sport. The entire team wishes Sergio well and looks forward to welcoming him back into the cockpit of the RP20 soon. Our intention is to race 2 cars on Sunday. We will communicate the next steps for our British Grand Prix weekend in due course. Now, there have been 3 drivers that have been put in the pot as a possibility to replace Perez on Sunday: Stoffel Vandoorne, Esteban Gutierrez, and Nico Hülkenberg. That's right, we'll get to him in a bit. Let's first start with Gutierrez and Vandoorne. Now, these 2 drivers are reserve drivers for Mercedes Petronas, but Mercedes and BWT Racing Point, them having sort of a connection, it'll be easy just for Racing Point to pick one of them and add them to their cars. Well, Vandoorne is more than likely not going to be a possibility due to him already being under contract racing in Formula E in Berlin, as they're getting ready for their E-Prix next Wednesday. Now, Esteban Gutierrez, on the other hand, he looks like to be a likely suspect due to him having, I guess you could say, experience in the F1 garage. Remember, he was picked up as a reserve driver for Mercedes back in 2019. However, he has not competed in Formula 1 since all the way back in 2016 with Haas F1. So you have 2 drivers, one in Vandoorne, who last competed in F1 with McLaren back in 2018, sort of already probably not going to be able to make it due to him having prior commitments with Formula E. You then have Gutierrez, who he's available, but he hasn't competed in F1 in years. 4 years, that's a long time away from Formula 1. This brings up Nico Hülkenberg. Now, Nico Hülkenberg, who has been arguably one of F1 fans' favorite drivers, is a driver that I personally like, maybe because I'm part German, but still, I really like Hülkenberg, and it was very sad to see him leave, or I guess you could say forced out of Renault at the end of the 2019 season. Well, now he's been stirred back into the pod, mainly because of that experience. He's only been gone from F1 for 1 year. In fact, he's only been gone from F1 for 3 races, so he still has experience. And on top of that, he has experience with the team. Remember, Racing Point was originally Force India. Now, while Nico Hülkenberg has notably, as of late, been with Renault in the past few years of his time at Formula 1, he was with Force India 2 separate stints. First time back in 2011 and 2012, and then in 2014 to 2016. And he put up some pretty good numbers by finishing in the top 10 in every single year at a stint with Force India, except for 2012 when he finished 11th in the standings. So he's put up some pretty good numbers at this time with the team, and the expected performance that they produced. He ran pretty good for that team during those 3 to 4 years. So obviously, me as a fan of Nico Hülkenberg, I want him in the car, but it looks like it's down to Gutierrez and Hülkenberg. I think more than likely they're gonna go with Gutierrez mainly because of his relationship with Mercedes Petronas and them being the top dog in F1. I won't be surprised if they took Gutierrez. But at the same time, I also won't be surprised if they took Hülkenberg. He has experience as of late. Again, he hasn't been in F1 since 2019 in Abu Dhabi. He has experience and he's been with the team, so he probably still knows some people within Force India or within Racing Point. It was Force India. But yeah, very interested to see where Racing Point goes. I think they're going to side with Gutierrez, but again, I won't be surprised if they go with Hülkenberg. They're both two pretty good choices. But now I leave it up to you. What do you guys think? Who do you think is going to replace Perez in Sunday's British Grand Prix? Do you think it's going to be Gutierrez? Or do you think it's going to be Hülkenberg? Leave your comments down below. Now we're going to stay in the world of Formula 1 and talk about a race that has been up in the air, and that is the Spanish Grand Prix in Barcelona. Now they tested there in the off-season of 2020, but they haven't had a proper race as of yet. They're scheduled to race in August 16th. Now with everything that's going on with COVID-19 and with Spain having a spike up in COVID-19 cases, many people were speculating if F1 would race in Barcelona. Well, they have been given a green light to participate in the Spanish Grand Prix, and a couple days ago, from F1 sources and blogs, they have been given the green light to participate in August 16th's Spanish Grand Prix. Now, I think the main reason why they gave it the green light, even though there's a spike up in coronavirus cases, I think it has to do with the fact that it's in Europe, and with F1 being in London or being in England as their home base, going to a track or to a place like Spain, which is not that far away from their home base, I think it makes sense because I believe Formula 1 is going to try to go to races that don't require long travel. Like, for example, to the Americas or to Australia, places like that that require long distance traveling. I don't think F1 wants to risk that. Going to a place like Spain, which is not that far away from F1's home base, if you look at it in terms of other tracks like Texas or Mexico or Brazil or Australia, I think it makes sense, even though they're going to have to go in with, I think, even more of alertness to make sure that everything is okay. And because, again, we just had Perez tested positive, so you're now going to a place that has had a spike up in cases. I think F1 is going to go to that area with extra precautionary updates or procedures to make sure that they go in there safe and leave out safe. And now on to our final story, and I'm very excited to talk about this one. NASCAR has announced earlier today changes to the Daytona road course scheduled for next month. Now, originally people were concerned or expected a change to the road course because of the fact that NASCAR announced that they would be using at first the high horsepower, low downforce package. They were mainly talking about this part of the racetrack, coming off of turn 3 or entering turn 3 out of the backstretch chicane and entering into turn 1. Full throttle, high horsepower, low downforce. More than likely, you're going to see drivers go up to 200 or so miles an hour, and having no practice entering to a hard left in turn 1, that would more than likely cause for big concerns and more than likely would cause big time wrecks. So NASCAR has made an announcement that they have added changes to the road course by adding a chicane off of turn 4 before the tri-oval. Here's a picture of what it looks like. This is from an aerial view, similar to how the Charlotte Roval looks on the backstretch. In fact, Daytona has got the turtles, those little blue turtles that you saw on the backstretch chicane. They got that from the Charlotte Roval, and we'll put it in the Daytona road course. John Probst, the Senior Vice President of Racing Innovation in NASCAR, said in a statement regarding the road course change, he says, quote, "Due to the predicted high speeds and loads on the braking system, NASCAR will add a chicane off of oval turn 4 at Daytona and move to a high downforce 750 aero/engine package for the NASCAR Cup Series race on August 16th. We believe this will combine vehicle performance and safety to provide the best possible road course race for our fans." That's another thing. Instead of going to a high horsepower, low downforce, now going to a high horsepower, high downforce. So it's basically a mixture of the 2020 packages. Now, NASCAR did also release a photo or a video of what the the second chicane looks like right before the start finish line. in a test car. It was raining, but it gives you an idea on what it would look like. NASCAR also released, in conjunction with the addition of a new chicane, they also released stage and race lanes for the 4 races for next month's Daytona road course for the Trucks, Xfinity Cup Series, and the ARCA Menard Series. Here's a look at the top 3 divisions. 44 laps for the Truck Series, Stage 1, Stage 2, 12 laps apiece, Stage 3 being 20 laps. Then the Xfinity Series, 52 laps. Stage 1, Stage 2, 15 laps apiece, Stage 3 being 22 laps. And then finally the Cup Series, 65 laps, and like the Xfinity Series, Stage 1, Stage 2, each 15 laps apiece, and Stage 3 being 35 laps instead of 22 for the Xfinity Series. And also the ARCA Menard Series, they're going to be racing in 29 laps, I should say, 15 laps in Stage 1, and then 14 laps in Stage 2. So what are my thoughts on this announcement? Well, I'm conflicted, to say the least. On one side, I get it. You know, it's a safety issue. I think it's something that a lot of us expected when this was announced that Daytona would host a race on the road course. I think a lot of us expected that for NASCAR to make a change due to safety issues. So I get that. However, while I do say that, and I agree that NASCAR had to make a change due to a safety issue, I think going to a high downforce package is not a good idea. We've seen from the Watkins Glen races and the Sonoma races, a race with high downforce, regardless of the horsepower, with high downforce is horrible. Watch the 2019 Watkins Glen race. Watch it. It was not good. I mean, it was exciting between Truex and Chase Elliott, yeah, but Truex could not pass Elliott. Truex, I felt like he had the car to beat Elliott, but he couldn't pass him because of air and aero being such a key factor. I think this is just going to ruin the racing. Maybe not completely ruin it, but I think it's going to hinder the racing a lot. And again, I think having a change like this with the backstretch chicane, I think this gives me more of a reason to give drivers at least one practice session. I don't understand why NASCAR didn't make an announcement with this, also announcing, hey, we'll give you guys one practice session, because you're adding, first of all, you're going to a brand new racetrack. I think 3 drivers have participated on the road course. Now you're going to be adding a chicane that no one has ever used before. How are they, you're going to have drivers that are going to be bunched up in packs going into the chicane for the first time? No, again, I get it that having no practice, no qualifying, it's made races more interesting and more unpredictable. I get that. But for a situation like this, I think it makes sense just to have one 60-minute practice session or a 30-minute practice session. I just think it makes sense. They don't make sure that the drivers go into that race a bit comfortable. Because with no practice, you're either going to get 2 races. Number 1, a wreck fest, because drivers, they don't know the limits of the track or their car. Or number 2, a snooze fest, because drivers are going to be so afraid to not wreck their car. They're going to be going into it with a very preserved mindset. I think just giving them at least one practice session would be a good idea, to at least give them some form of comfort for when they go to race time. I mean, other series have done it. F1's done it. IndyCar's done it. Hell, the Xfinity Series did it at Indianapolis. Why you give them a practice session but not give the same Xfinity Series not a practice session for the Daytona road course? And this also brings up a question for the Xfinity Series. Are they going to have a restricted package? Because if I'm not mistaken, they're going to go to the Daytona road course with an unrestricted engine. They're probably going to reach up to 180, 190, depending. I don't know the exact specifics of the engine and how fast it can get up to, but I'm surprised that they announced a package limitation with the high downforce for the Cup Series, but have not announced anything for the Xfinity Series. Maybe we'll get an announcement as we get closer to the race, but I will say, at first, I was excited for this Daytona road course. Now, I'm going to go into it with a bit of concern, because I think the moves that NASCAR is making, I just think is not going to end well. But again, those are my thoughts, and the beauty having a show on the internet is that allows for you guys to show your comments and give me your thoughts on this announcement. But yes, that's going to conclude another episode of Inside the Lines. Guys, before I go, just want to say thank you so much for all the support you showed on the last video. I was very surprised by the feedback you guys have been giving me. A lot of you people have said that I have a tendency to speed up my words, or whenever I'm talking about something, I tend to get faster, which messes up the pace and the flow of the video. I do apologize for that. Hopefully, if you can tell in this video, I tried really hard to stay the same pace from the beginning to end. It's gonna take some time. I will try to get better, but again, thank you so much for the feedback from yesterday's video. A lot of you guys that saw me for the first time said you enjoyed the race or you enjoyed the episode, and again, really proud that you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully you guys will tune in for Sunday morning's NASCAR preview show, so make sure you guys tune in for that. But until next time, my name is Jett from MDK. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys next time.